world-famed speaker and entertainer, and might I add, a master hypnotist. I want to welcome to the show, Mr. Wayne Lee. How you doing, my man?
Oh, I'm doing awesome, Sean. It's so good to be here and so good to see everybody out there.
Yes. So excited to have you here. I'm just curious. It's speaking to you with your hypnosis background. I'm just curious. Are you when you look at people, do you look at waking them up in life, or do you actually look at putting them to sleep? I don't know.
Man, you're speaking my language, Sean. It's so interesting that you say that, because one of the taglines, and my wife always says, she says to me, she says, Wayne, a lot of people, it looks like you're putting people to sleep, but you're waking them up. And it's exactly what you said. It's like so ironic is that although those people are looking like they're asleep, they're actually letting go of what's stopping them from being awake.
Very interesting, and this is what I love about today. And I know we're gonna do a deep dive because even in my work, Wayne, as you know, it's about transformation, right? Whether I'm coaching somebody in fitness or business, it is that mindset is such a key component to getting to the next level. Would you agree? The importance of transformation?
Absolutely. And, like I've even branded our movement, the transform movement. So trance is trance. The people live in a trance from moment to moment. And the trance that they live in will then produce the form. And It's a movement. I mean, we're moving into this. If people don't get out of that trance that they're stuck in, then they'll keep transforming the same results. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I'll double down on what you said,
Yes.
Sean. It's like you are the epitome of physical success. I've been watching your stuff, looking at your pictures. I mean, that's inspirational. That's absolutely like setting the bar really high. And I also know this is that one of the words that you said there is very powerful, is mindset. And so I'm gonna actually double down on mindset, and I'm gonna say that mindset is not 80%. I'm gonna say it's 100%.
I would agree with you. And before we dive deeper with you on that, because what I love is, even when I'm in the gym and people are looking at me, right? There's the physical action. They're like, oh, well, let's just pick up a weight and let's curl it, just like it must work. But yet they don't know where I am in my mind, what I'm thinking about, what I'm focusing on. Would you agree with that?
100%. And it's one of the things that we take people through in our program. We call that the follow through. So the follow through is picking up the weight and doing this. The follow through is writing your book. The follow through is going on a stage to deliver your message. The mechanics, I can teach people the mechanics.
Yep.
They won't do the mechanics unless they have what we call the focus.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're definitely speaking the same language. Absolutely. It's the same. It's the same in a relationship. It's the same in business. It's the same, unless we go to that next level, which is here, it's not going to last. It's not going to work, and it's not going to last.
Yeah.
Right.
Without a doubt. And even like in all of my research, and what I've found is that, mindset, people will say, well, yeah, it's part of it. I'm like, well, it's 100%. And I'll show you why. Because there is sometimes a moral belief that people have that they're not good enough, or they should only set the bar right here. If that belief is ingrained and entrenched into their subconscious, what happens is throughout life, they will not even let themselves dream.
Yes.
And so they won't even get out into the starting gates to do that. And then it becomes very frustrating because they're like, I should be doing this. I should be going to the gym. Yet if they don't even get out of the starting gates of seeing a different image of themselves, it's a what we call the inner battle.
That's that frustration. That's that spirals in so many things: fear, doubt, irritation. Is that what you're speaking about?
Yes. We call it, when people are tuned in, and I call it aligned, they are in a state which many people and peak performance experts have talked about, but I have an acronym that I'll share with you, and it's a flow state.
Love it.
So
yes.
Flow represents feeling love, operate within.
Love it. I love it. Absolutely.
And so then there's an opposite, is that you're always love, yet if people are not tuned in and aligned to it, they feel it in the form of frustration, anger, and then it shows up in the follow through or lack of follow through with procrastination and perfectionism and all that. But getting back to the flow, if people aren't in a flow state, they're in a frozen state.
Amazing. Amazing. I love the analogies that you're throwing out there.
Can you tell? Can you tell where I spend my time thinking, Sean?
And flowing, definitely flowing.
And if you think about the language that we use, we talk about it. Just get into the flow. Let it flow out of you, man. Bruce Lee, be water.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So great. You know, you bring up an amazing point. Be flow, but really, is there a difference though, Wayne, between just going with the flow, or, you know, what I've started to really say is like growing with the flow? You gotta know where you're going, and you gotta have some focus there, which is the mindset. So it's not just going with the flow. It's like we gotta almost grow with the flow. Would you agree, or how would you say that?
I would love it. I love it. I don't dispute it one bit. I think you have to grow with the flow, and so growing with the flow is understanding what is your why, what we call the magical vision. And so before the focus, what is determining your focus? Well, I would say 90% of it is launched in your subconscious. And if people don't double down on what their why is, we hear that word a lot, why.
Yes.
Like, what's your why? What's your purpose? What's your mission? What do you think about when you are just, you know, in between the spaces before, you know, the day? And then some people have been really blessed because they've intentionally chose to go that route, and they're living in the flow. They're growing with the flow. But the word why, if you look at the word WHY, and you can tell I have a fascination with linguistics.
Yes, absolutely. I love it.
So here it is. Your why and anybody else's why, and they complicate the crap out of this, is your wonderful heart's yearning. And it's usually something that shows up as a kid. It may be believed out of you, like you shouldn't be thinking this, you shouldn't be dreaming, but it's something that always is nagging at you. It's always what we call calling you. It's calling you forth. It's a magic call. It's the magic call. And you think, what do I love to do? What do I want to see happen in the world? What's my change? And so when you just identify like your magical vision, your why, and it's not complicated. A lot of people say, well, gosh, and that thought right there that they'd have is that they're not making the right decision.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, what I really love about this, Wayne, is mindset. Wouldn't you agree that there's a difference between mindset and our brain that thinks? Because you're talking about our heart and soul at the same time, right?
Yeah, I am.
And so
it's ambiguous because mind is something you don't see. The brain is a physical form of a receiver and a transmitter. And now they've done research, and I don't know if I'm stepping ahead, but I think we're in the flow, Sean.
Yes, absolutely. I love it.
Feeling love, operate within. And part of the flow is having fun, obviously. So here's the thing: is one of the things as a hypnotist that I've learned is that I've heard 100 and maybe 1,000 different definitions of the word mind, right?
Totally.
But we can see a brain. So we can dissect it under the microscope. They can even have all of this magnetic imaging, showing people when they visualize how it lights it up, when they're choosing different beliefs, there's actual physical proof that you have the neural pathways changing when you reprogram. But where does the reprogramming come from? Your subconscious. So when you start to use what we call the subconscious, which I believe is the access to infinite energy, which is the gateway to unlimited power, which is holding all our beliefs. It's also guiding us. A lot of people think that the subconscious is just the servant. I believe that it's the transmitter of our soul, of our spirit. And when you're out of alignment, you feel it. So it's our greatest guidance system. So that bridge is like, what you have to do is you have to reset your subconscious, and then that rewires your brain.
Absolutely. And we have a lot of high performers, high achievers listening and watching right now. So I know that they're loving this, because one of the things that I do is I say, okay, everyone, show me your two fingers. And I say, okay, on the count of three, I want you to point to your mind, right? And what they do is, go 1, 2, 3, and they go, boom, right here, right? And it's like, I'm like, no, you're pointing to your brain.
Yeah.
But exactly what you said, your brain lights up by the alignment that we are by coming into our mind, our heart, our soul's desire, the thinking of the past, but also where we want to go into the future, right? And so I get people, okay, quick little thing, go from here to here.
Yeah.
As just a way to sort of begin to look differently at their mind for the potential to dive into it.
Yeah.
So here's my question to you. What is hypnosis? And I don't want, I know it's a very, it's just like, oh, well, that's a simple question. What's hypnosis? But here's what I know. When somebody asks me about mindset, or I look at it a very particular way, and I want to know, you as a master, when it comes to hypnosis, what you would say, what is hypnosis?
Yeah, well, I have a very simple definition.
Okay.
It's the non-critical acceptance of an idea or suggestion into your subconscious. So and you said that you were hypnotized before, you fell asleep in the audience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And at no time were you asleep though. Right?
Well, if you want to get into that experience, I was in the audience.
Yeah.
And I was, and I still remember, because he said, okay, picture light coming in through the top of your head. And I'm like, okay. So I was just doing it. I was just like, okay, yeah. But before I know it, it was like, it was just, I don't know. It seemed like I went somewhere. I was just following the guidance. But then all of a sudden I sort of like, I don't know if I snapped out of something.
Yeah. It was just a different state of consciousness. Just a different state, and there's various states. And what confuses people is when they see me hypnotize people on stage, it looks very dramatic, very phenomenal, which it is. It's the most fascinating thing that you can look at times. And yet, if you ask anybody up there if they were asleep, they'll say no. So I'll get back to the definition, and I'll unpack that. Yet they will say, I heard everything you were doing. I was aware. I just felt this urge to follow your suggestions.
Yes.
So
yes, totally.
If I use hypnotic language, if I actually confuse the mind, there's lots of ways to do it.
Yes.
It does one thing. It gets people out of their own way, opens the door to be very receptive to suggestions. So if I'm giving somebody a suggestion on stage to be a great dancer, and they accept it without any qualification, and they are freaking phenomenal, which they are, and even if they aren't, they think they are, which is
totally
key to success, then what is the difference from somebody then giving themselves, or me giving somebody a suggestion that doesn't believe in themselves, and I say, you are awesome. You are amazing. You are going to do good things in life. You are going to touch a lot of people. And you are worth tons. And then they go out and they do that.
Wow.
So do you see the larger impact of and the ramifications of that? Everything is hypnosis. The moment that we speak a thought and we start to believe it, that's hypnosis. People have bought into so many, we call these borrowed beliefs. These are borrowed from the time you're 7, up to 7, usually a lot of those are registered in your mind. So then you have a reference of how the world works, how you work, how you think it is, and then those are running the show. And that's how you're going to filter your reality, and that's going to be the determination of your results, of your behavior. And so that's why I'm so passionate about it, is I get this wonderful mechanism, vehicle of doing it for entertainment, and yet the bigger picture is that this is how life works.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. When did you start understanding the mind and putting more conscious attention on it and getting into, hypnosis? And
yeah, I was led into hypnosis through the sport of amateur wrestling. Yeah, so it was my obsession. And I had this amazing coach back in grade 8, and he said, Wayne, come and do some wrestling. I was scared, like I was really scared to do it. And I got beat up at first. But what I learned in that sport is that you had to show up, you had to perform, you had to, you just couldn't hide. And there was something about it. I started to win some matches. I learned some technique. I had some great people around me that I trained. And then when in grade 10, when I moved to Edmonton and Sherwood Park, I actually became part of one of the best clubs in Canada. And I came back to Canada came back to Edmonton because we lived on the island. And when I came back, my coach at this time, Glenn, amazing coach, he said, what do you want to do in the sport this year, Wayne? I said, well, I want to do well. And he goes, no, specifically, what do you want to do? And it just came out of me. I said, I want to make it into the finals of the national championships. So he told me exactly what I needed to do. He said, you got to train this much. You got to show up to all these tournaments. You got to actually travel to other different clubs to train. And I said, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. So I'm going to do that. But he said, there's one other thing, Wayne. I said, what is it? He said, you got to visualize yourself as if you've already achieved it. And so every day I would do that, and I would do it to the extent where in math class I'd be twerking and turning in my chair to the point where I pretty much failed math that year, Sean. But I did good in wrestling. But fast forward to the national championships, we get there. I learned a whole lot because I wrestled a lot of matches, won a whole bunch, lost a whole bunch. But at that tournament, the first 3 matches, I won those matches. I go into the next match, which was the for the gold. Well, it was to get into the gold medal match. So it was what I wanted, is to be in the finals. And the guy I was wrestling was a lot stronger, a lot more experienced. But all I had going on in my head was this mantra: I'm going to make it into the finals. I'm going to make it into the finals. I could see it, I could feel it, and I was in such a, I didn't call it trance or hypnosis, but I was in such a state of trance at the time that I went on that mat, whistle blew. We ended up in a 3-all tie, and we went into sudden death overtime. 1 minute, I'm talking to Glenn, my coach, and to this day I have no idea what he said to me because I was just zoned into the match, right? I was like, get me up there. I get back on the mat, whistle blows, we go off the mat, I come racing back to the center, get into my stance, and the referee raises my hand. And I don't even know how I got the point going out of bounds, but I did it. And I won the match. I got into the finals. I was ecstatic. And then the next day I'm going for the gold medal, and I'm like, the guy that I'm wrestling, I actually beat in a previous tournament. So I was like, this is going to be easy. And I get on the mat, the whistle blows, and guess what? I lost. And here's the punchline. I was actually really disappointed, even though I hit my mark. And I said to Glenn, I said, what happened? I said, I could have beat that guy. And he looked at me and he says, Wayne, what did you focus upon all year long? And it hit me. It was like getting into the finals, but not winning. And that was like a revelation. But what happened is I used that advice, and then I said, national championship, national championship, national champion. So the next 3 years I won the nationals. And it was profound in regards to how our mind worked and how I figured that out at the time and how I used it. And I used that since that time in everything I do in my life. And then that led me into hypnosis, which I'd seen a nightclub act, and I was just absolutely amazed. I was a school teacher, becoming a school teacher, and that changed my life because after seeing that, I was so drawn into finding out what was happening and correlating what I was doing in wrestling with what was happening on stage. And it became a calling, obviously.
Wow, that is phenomenal. And I so resonate with that because a large part of my life, I mean the first like 38 years has been like this up and down. And it led to a lot of, some successes and a lot of failures. And fitness was my first thing that I focused on because it was massively important to me.
Right.
At the time.
Yeah.
And so isn't that a key element to our focus, is not just, okay, I want this, but you gotta feel it. It has to almost be consuming.
Yeah. You gotta want it bad enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if people don't follow through, could be because they don't want it bad enough, or they want it so damn bad, but they've got so many negative beliefs in the way.
And that was going to be my next question to you, Wayne, was what have you found that gets in the way? Because setting a vision, it's nothing new, right?
No.
Like we've all heard it. It's like, okay, you got to have a vision, you got to focus on a vision. But yet, what makes the difference between just simply writing out a vision, looking at that vision, to being like, having it actually come true? And you just started to touch on it with like, the limiting beliefs, the negative, self-worth, feelings of non-worthiness.
Yes. Yeah. So are you asking then, how do you overcome that? How do you take it to the next level? How do you get people from A to B?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Let's go there.
For sure. So first of all, what I say is that you got to have an end game. So the vision is the beautiful thing that's driving you, the essence. And then you have to say, how is that going to show up in my life 5 years from now, 3 years, 1, and then start chunking it down. So the plan is very important. I don't know anyone that's highly successful, that's a peak performer, that has not planned that out. And then what that does is it creates clarity and confidence. So a simple way of thinking it is activating your end game. Activating your end game by saying, what do you want? What do you want to do, have 3 years from now? What do you want to do, have 1 year from now? And then chunk it down in 90-day sections. And then start to break it down into weekly intervals. And then there's a logical progression to life. People complicate it. Okay. Now, part of it is this too, is that what I've just said for some people listening is going, oh, well, that's too detailed. I don't like to plan. I guarantee you when you do this, your life becomes more spontaneous. Because it's in between those moments where the magic happens, where greater opportunities, greater glory. Because what's happening is you're setting the intention, you're calling out to the universe what you want, and it's saying, we're going to give you what you want. And so here's the magic, is that everything you have right now, anything anyone has right now, is exactly what they've actually asked for. Now, some people come up with resistance saying, I didn't ask for this. No, I get it. But your thoughts will always indicate the level of what you're attracting and how you're performing in life. And so it's super critical, mission critical in regards to making sure that you have an end game and a plan of how that looks.
I so agree with that. And have you found in optimizing that end game where there's going to be challenges along the way? So you get all excited and you're like, okay, I have a vision. I know the end game. I'm going to like chunk that down. Have you ever found that all of a sudden life just seems to mysteriously give you some challenges to overcome in order to become the person?
No, it's one clear line. It's smooth sailing all the way down the road.
Totally.
Actually, you're going to have more challenges. Because
Absolutely.
For more. You're playing a bigger game. You're creating more value for others. So you're actually at a different state of consciousness. And what it is that you raise your standards. You come to the next level, and you're playing a bigger game. So the beauty is that, and this is one of the things that my wife Nicole and I teach, is that we call it the transform to freedom model. And the model is actually a linear model of all the. Can I just share it with you, because this will
Absolutely.
Impact.
Yeah.
We call the top of it is the facts in life. Everything that we can agree on or not dispute, like COVID's going on, you weigh a certain weight, I weigh a certain weight, people have so much money in their bank account or they don't have so much money. Those are the things that we can all pretty much agree on as a fact, right? The facts never have anything to do with the focus. The focus is about, what do you think about that? Being in debt isn't inherently bad or good. It's what you focus upon that makes it that way. So the focus will then go into how you look at debt or how you look at your weight. Will then, like, I can say, hey, I want to be my ideal weight of 175. I've got about 10 pounds to get there. Man, I'm inspired to feel it. I'm inspired to get on that treadmill. And then another person can say, I'll never lose that weight. Never have, never will.
Yep.
And it's the exact same scenario. So now I'll take you through it. Now we got focus, and don't let us forget about focus and what determines your focus, because that's the big one.
Okay.
Now at the focus level, your focus you can always feel. And you're either going to be in a flow state or a frozen state, like I said from before. One feels good, one feels not so good. And then there's all this degree of it. How you feel will always determine how you follow through. And so if you are fighting to follow through, if you're fighting yourself, so then the follow through won't be there. Make sense?
Absolutely.
So the facts of the challenges that you go through, if somebody has a core belief that, oh my goodness, obstacles to me are just frickin' opportunities, is going to be the greatest determinator, easy for you to say, of whether they get into a flow state and follow through. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And here's another one. Here's a powerful quote. I think it was Einstein said, is that this is one of the most powerful things that you could ask yourself. Do you live in a hostile universe or a friendly universe?
Agreed.
And whoever just said, I live in a hostile universe, I guarantee you they're going through suffering.
Yes.
So you're living in your own reality. You're creating it. And this is why we're so passionate, because at the focus level, in language patterns and picking up and detecting what's happening, there are these patterns of language, these sound bites of the mind that come up when I'm speaking with people, and I can actually identify that one thing, and that one thing is not a fact, that one thing is a thought that is creating the tension, the stress, the overwhelm, the burnout, which then leads to everything else, either happening or not happening. So it's always a thought that's causing that.
Wow. Wow. And Wayne, I so agree with that, because one of the greatest things that helped turn my life around was exactly what you're speaking about, which was when I realized that life was actually on my side.
Yeah.
Even through the challenges that were coming, when I got to reframe it, it was like, wow, what is the opportunity here? How have I been viewing these things? And yeah, it would allow me to not follow through, as you said. And when I realized, oh, geez, I'm given exactly what I need. Maybe not what I want right now, but I'm given what I need. And if I can shift that thought, oh my God, things can open up, and here I go. I can begin moving again. Would you agree with that?
100%. And I would ask you, when you did, and or even if you don't remember the exact moment, when you did shift that thought, how did you feel when that happened?
Oh, I know, totally. Because there's this expansion. There was this expansion in me. It's just like, oh. And so, yeah, it was magical in that moment.
Yeah. So here's something that's going to blow minds, is that some people are waiting for things to happen so they get more energy, so they have more money. It's all the waiting game. When in fact, guess what? It's all here and available right now. The magic awaits. You tune in and tap into it, and you dream big, and people get too caught up in overthinking about, well, how's that going to work?
Yes.
That's where the vision has to come first, and then you deal with these thoughts as they come up. And it's not about eliminating every single thought, because that's a false premise right there. It's about when they do come up, you don't stay there long. Like my story, Sean, is a number of years ago, and I was doing shows out on the road. I was doing okay in the sense that I was bringing in money, pretty good money, but I was in massive debt. And I couldn't figure out why. And my wife and I were in tension and struggle. And I was stressed, even though on the outside, Wayne Lee put on a pretty good happy face. And so what was happening is I didn't necessarily uncover it at the time. I didn't realize what was happening. I was too close to my own hypnosis. And what it was is that I had a deep need to be liked. I had a deep need to be approved. Some people equate this with people pleasing, and that's what it is. And so somewhere I picked that up down the road. And the painful wake up, because remember how I put people to sleep, but I'm waking them up? I had the biggest wake up in my life. And that was an employee that stole over, $100,000 from us. And I was like, whoa. And in the moment, it was like, it was shock. It was like, how could somebody do that? Like I told my wife, and she's like, oh, you're kidding, right? And it was mind blowing. It was a shock. And then, after I busted that belief about, that, because it was so like much, and I don't want people to go through that, but you can change that, is what had happened is I realized that it had nothing to do with that person. It had everything to do with me. And I had a core belief that in order to be successful in business, I got to be liked. And that means that I'm going to pay for even people. I'm going to take care of them even if they're not doing a good job. And that stopped me from serving at a higher level. And so when I woke up and busted that belief, everything transformed. The money started to come in. I asked for what I was worth. Our relationship got better. And it was a borrowed belief that plagued me. And I was even a hypnotist.
Wow. Borrowed belief. Yeah. I like that. I like that. What do you see, Wayne, as, well, first of all, let me just backtrack a moment. So are you saying that anyone can be hypnotized for success?
Yes.
And everyone who is like, oh no, I can't be hypnotized, would you agree that is more or less just a willingness? They're hanging on to something, just like that borrowed belief. It's like, no, I'm hanging on to it because there can be a sense of safety and security in what you've borrowed, you've claimed, versus letting it go and going to that next level, because that means you have to grow in a lot of ways, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it also means sometimes they're not even aware of how it's playing out in their life. So like myself, they need to wake up, right? And getting back to the hypnosis, let's separate the stage show, which is a phenomenal example, and let's talk about how people are hypnotizing themselves by the words that they say from the moment they get up in the morning. What a shitty day. What a terrible day it's going to be. That is a hypnotic command. That's hypnosis, Sean. That's what I'm saying. Is as soon as somebody closes their eyes and they get out of their own way just by, taking a deep breath in, the reason that I let people go off stage is because in the time given, they didn't get as receptive as the other people. But it didn't mean that they weren't hypnotized, because hypnosis is a matter of degrees. It's everything from the point of what we're telling ourselves on a moment-to-moment basis, but most of it is subconscious.
Yes. I love that, because I was just going to go down the rabbit hole a little bit with you as far as that receptivity. Is that a brain wave that we allow ourselves to actually go to, right? As far as, I do some coaching around the mind too. And it's the same thing. I see where people are talking and speaking, and yet at the same time, they're not allowing themselves to go deep enough within themselves. And what I've seen, and I've noticed it within myself, Wayne, was I didn't like how I felt inside. So I avoided who I was on the outside, and I pushed everything to the outside just so I could keep it out there.
Yeah.
And is hypnosis actually allowing yourself to go within and feel who you really are, those values in your heart? Is that a part of it?
It is. Yeah. It's, again, getting out of your own way, and say for the sake of hypnosis and influence, if I'm hypnotizing somebody, I can be very direct with them if I've built rapport and trust, and say, this is a suggestion, kind of like what I was doing before, going, you're worth it. You're amazing. And my belief and my conviction is going to transfer to them. And the other way that's really powerful, that it gets them to come to their own conclusion that, oh my goodness, this is what I've been doing, is asking good questions.
That's true. That's true.
So many people are so quick to tell person a solution to do this. Everybody is right.
Mm.
because they're creating their own experience. So when you don't validate them, we have a built-in mechanism that resists because it's a survival mechanism, and our brain, that reptilian part, is to keep us alive. It doesn't like change. Yet there's a part of us that's always our inner source, or I call it my magic. I am the magic. It's like that's always letting us know that we're in alignment. And so when you understand how what we just been talking about how your subconscious, how your brain works, the soul, the spirit, which are just names that we give to this eternal energy,
Yes.
intelligent, then we it's freedom. It's freedom. And so the whole aspect of when people are in hypnosis, they've just allowed themselves into a state of trust where they can accept suggestions. And part of that too is like what I said is like if I question somebody in a coaching process that we do with our Transform Freedom model, I won't tell them because even though I'm a hypnotist, there's a point where I want them to come to their own conclusions.
Totally.
So the greatest form of hypnosis is having them change thinking it was their idea.
I love that. I love that. And that's coming back to what you were saying earlier, which is how do you wake up in the morning? What are you saying to yourself?
Yes.
Over and over and over and over until you believe it, until it becomes that thought pattern in you. Is that right?
Yeah. And most of it's replayed. It's replayed programs and recordings of the past that's referenced that they think that's real and it's actually a lie. Here's what I would say is that if you're not in a flowing state, you're in a frozen state. And that frozen state is actually letting you know that you're telling yourself a lie. Because if you're meant to feel joy, freedom, and love and experience the exuberancy of life and you're not there, then it's not going to happen somewhere in the future. It's actually saying you can do this right now, right here. And all you have to do is get aligned. And that means what you're telling yourself, what you're seeing in your mind, right?
Yes.
So here's one of the things that is going to save people a lot of time in regards to stress, overwhelm, and beating themselves up.
Love it. Let's go.
There's a lot of, and I don't know if it's a lot, but I think throughout the years there's been a lot of focus upon people need to do this, they need to do this, they need to fix. It comes from a false premise of that there's something wrong with people. So what if now, as you're watching this, you realize and you understand maybe maybe it's a deep level, maybe you know this, or maybe it's just that's interesting that you're already whole, complete, and perfect. That you have all the internal resources, that you have all the magic that you ever needed and ever will need. And the whole thing about what Sean said is you grow with the flow, is that you go with that, you get aligned to your heartfelt desires, you tune in and tap into your magnetic intelligent navigation device, which is your mind. That's the acronym for it. And then you move forward fast. You're in the flow where you feel love operate within. When that happens, you're not operating from a place of lack or limitation, because I guarantee you there's a lot of successful people out there, but they're not fulfilled. And why? Because they are trying to prove themselves that they're good enough. Simple thing, you are already good enough. You are enough. You have enough. Now, are you fed up enough to drop that?
Totally.
So I call that the vibrant. Yeah.
Wow.
So you're always getting what you're obviously putting out right now. So if people don't think there's enough time, I guarantee I know I can predict their behaviors. They're stressed out. They're in overwhelm a lot of times because that belief is perpetuating that there won't be enough time. They don't feel like they got it all done.
Totally.
Yeah. So you can see the power of a soundbite, how it dictates their reality.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so powerful. That's so powerful. I love that. Wayne, we were talking about COVID a little bit in the beginning, and I know you have a little story that you wanted to go into. Because right now we're living in a time of change and transformation. Things are actually being called to change, right? Whether you're the entrepreneur who's made 10 million, 100 million, but you're unhappy, recalibrate, redirect,
reset.
Love it. Yes. And have you had any of those challenges throughout COVID?
None at all. I don't know if I said it on here already, but my wife and I, we were having the best year ever in terms of working up to over 7 figures. Just the two of us getting on stages. My model was very simple of going to go do a keynote presentation on peak performance, going to do a hypnosis show here. It was beautiful. Getting into the States, we had a month that we closed, I think, it was 6 figures in 1 month in January. It was like, great, we're way ahead of schedule here. And then the next month it was all shut down. So we didn't have a pivot. We had to reinvent. And one of my beliefs that is I call it a diamond hard belief of mine is there's always a way.
Yes.
And what's next? So I always have a belief, make my future vision bigger than my past. So I ask, what's next? Now, trust me, we did Netflix and we did some wine, quite a bit actually. And one of the things that was the greatest thing is moving my body to get into that flow state, doing stairs, and all these things started to download. All these things that I've learned over the 25 years, because when I asked the question, there's always a way. How can we serve? Then I started to go on without even realizing that this was going to how it happened. I'd go on lives and I would do these hypnosis resets. And my hair was all over the place, but I came to serve. And I did that throughout the year. And then that grew into a coaching program. It grew into a leader of a taste of our particular teachings. We developed it along the way. We created it with others as we had them come on. And that was born, I should say, and what was born was a transform movement. And it's just been phenomenal. So now it's really about to reach millions. And our mission is to turn people's misery into magic.
Wow. That's phenomenal. I love that, Wayne. And I so resonate with what you just said, because it's something that I say too, even is not what's wrong, because I used to get caught up in what was wrong.
Yeah.
Not what's wrong, it's what's next.
Yeah.
And I started to see, and this is for everyone, listening to us right now, is I totally believe it. And I know wholeheartedly that everything that we're going through, even if we've been in a frozen state for, as you say, for, the last year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, it doesn't take 5 years, 10 years to become unfrozen. It can happen quickly. Yeah. Actually. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And so what people need is they need one thing only, and it's simpler than they think. They need to make a decision.
Totally.
So all things that come about from change all happen from a decision. Now, what I'm about to say is kind of a proprietary way of how we coach people, because when you think about it, all of these borrowed beliefs that people have are really decisions they keep making over and over and over and over. Yes. So the challenge is that in hypnosis, people keep making those decisions unless I give them a pattern interrupt. And a pattern interrupt could be a snap of the fingers, it could be a tap of the forehead, it could be look at me, sleep. So people need to give themselves a pattern interrupt and realize that the moment they make a decision, and they make a decision, that it starts to rewire their brain, the neurological pathways, the intricacies of our neurology. I just like saying it. If my wife was here, she'd be like, she'd be proud, because she's really part of that brain-based stuff, where I'm a little bit more on the metaphysical side, and but anyhow, getting to what I was saying is, what I realized is that there's one way that people can shift instantaneously, and it's with 4 words, and it's an acronym. So the acronym is MIND, M-I-N-D. And I want you to hear this, because I want you to hear how powerful it is. And think about when you're making a new decision, you go, yeah, I'll do that. Did you really make a new decision? Or did you double down? Did you actually make a decision? So to do that, when you say, me, I now decide.
Yes.
What you've been deciding for so long, you just flip it. Me, I now decide. There's always enough time. I just got to make time for what's important. Me, I now decide. In the past, I know I didn't think I was good enough. Now I'm damn good enough. Me, I now decide. It's such a simple transformation, but people make it more complicated than it is. And so me, I now decide if they can me, I now decide themselves throughout the whole day. Challenge with that is that a lot of people, they have to be conscious of what's happening in there. So I always say, how do you feel? Notice when you're in stress and overwhelm, what thought is it? And then me, I now decide the opposite.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The power of the opposite. No matter where you are, you always,
You're in contrast. Yeah. There's always, we live in duality, right? You wouldn't be able to feel that happiness if you weren't to experience sad.
Totally.
Right?
Totally. Clarity through contrast, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the fact that somebody can identify what they don't want, I'm like, that's awesome, man.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Now, what do you want? Me, I now decide I want this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's just one tool that you can use to flip it like that.
And I love that pattern interrupt. No matter where you are, no matter how frozen you are,
Yeah.
you can interrupt that and then move into your mind, the power of your mind.
Yeah. So
I now decide. I love that.
Yeah. And it's not about going from here to here. It's about going from here to here. It's about me, I now decide maybe I can do this. Maybe there is another way. Just maybe. So I think when people say always be positive, always be this, it's almost condescending.
Yes.
Right? So you always want to feel the flow. You always want to mind your flow. Me, I now decide. Feeling love operate within.
I love it. I love it.
And boom, that's when the magic's happened. Because when you're tuned in now on the metaphysical side, as I'm going off here, Sean, you got these high vibrational magnetic impulses that are going to be attracting the same thing in the results of your health, of your wealth, of your relationships, and synchronicities.
Okay. So right on that point, Wayne, when a lot of high achievers, high performers, they always like, okay, give me the how. But can we like solve this right now? The how, the meal plan, the workout plan, the writing down of the goals. That's very little compared to the magic, the mind, the flow state. Isn't that right?
That is the how.
Yes, exactly.
Everything is mindset.
Yes.
It's the must. You got to master your subconscious mind. But here's the thing that I just say, master your subconscious mind. People think that it's got to be like instant. If they don't do it, and so even the thought that they have to do it a certain way and they're going to get it wrong is the thought that's stopping them from even getting out of the starting gate. So just think about that. Everything is mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say to anyone that's listening right now, just check in with your thoughts. Check in what's coming up for you as we talk about this. Are you juiced up? Are you energized? Are you resistant to what we're saying? And if so, it has nothing to do with us. It's actually your process through your own belief systems. And that's the greatest wake up that you can actually start with is your own awareness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. To me, this is the greatest news, Wayne, because no matter if it's like COVID time or whatever challenge we're facing, but in the outside, we have that power within if we just decide.
Yeah. And it's right. You make a decision. The other thing too, Sean, is that I want to lift people up here with this.
Yes.
Is during COVID, people have lowered their standards a bit.
True.
It's an opportunity to raise the standards. It's an opportunity to serve at a higher level. It's an opportunity to play a bigger game. And it all starts with not bitching and complaining about how bad things are and what should, it's about yourself. It's about yourself. And I say that because I know you can do it. I say that because you have it all within you and it starts from within. Yeah.
1,000%.
There was a lot of people that said, we've never experienced anything like this before. Maybe. Yet there's a depression, there's all these times of challenge where there was more businesses created that came out of that than ever before. Why? Because there was bigger problems.
Yes.
Are you the one to solve that problem? What's your service? What's your value? Because money, if we get into the issue of money too, because it's all about top performing too, it's about creating value and delivering it in a way that people want to pay for it. So if you deliver such great value, that's what it's about. But I think too many people are worried about how they're going to look.
I agree.
Yeah.
I so agree. Just touching upon that, Wayne, is I really believe right now, and you just said it too, throughout every challenge is an opportunity for a higher expansion, a greater opening, a greater time of peace, love, freedom, and success.
Yeah.
And I don't see this as any different. I just see that there's a massive explosion waiting to happen, and it starts with us.
Yeah.
And do you want to say anything on that, Wayne?
Well, I just want to say that your mindset, Sean, is a reflection of exactly what you're experiencing. So it's nothing to do with COVID. You brought that to COVID. It happened way before COVID. So I want people to check in to get something out of this in regards to, how am I looking at COVID? Am I, and I'm not saying that you won't have the negative thoughts, because, it's almost like people beat themselves up for having those thoughts. And that in and of itself is one of the reasons why people are more stressed, because they've learned they shouldn't think this way or they shouldn't feel this way. It's like, whatever you're feeling is perfect. Yes. You're whole, complete, and perfect. And whatever you're feeling, feel it. And then make a decision. Me, I now decide.
Absolutely.
And so I just say, what are the thoughts that you're thinking? What are your views right now that allow you to serve at a higher level? Serve yourself, serve your community, serve your loved ones, and also serve yourself with regards to what you want, your goals. Because if you say, well, there's no way I can do it during this time, you're going to get what you're asking for. It's a mirror reflection. Yeah.
Absolutely. Mirror reflection. Exactly. A miracle, right?
Yeah.
I love it.
It's a miracle. You got her. I love that.
And, because we are creating our life, right, Wayne? But it's like, are we doing it consciously or unconsciously? And if we want to do it consciously, then it doesn't matter where we're starting.
The perfect place is right now. And, yes. And being at peace with that is great. And the one word that's very strong in my vocabulary is intention.
Yeah.
And so setting the intention is, the deciding what you want. It's the will and the want together. It's intention. And there's one thing I'll say about intention is that as soon as you decide, the world starts to show you things that will support you in getting it. And you won't even know where they're coming from. I'll give you an example. During COVID, Nicole was ready to go back to work as a speech pathologist. The same day that she was doing that, a fellow that knew me from the past that was a very wealthy builder, or I should say investor, he called me up and said, Wayne, can you coach me? I said, yeah. I said, I got time. And he said, what do you want for it? I said, I don't know. I'll give you, I'll coach you on sessions and, it'll be 6 sessions. He goes, well, how about this? Why don't you coach me for a year and I'll pay you $100,000? And I'm like, okay. So the whole aspect is this. I had no idea where that was coming from. What I was putting out there in some level was vibrating that back into my life. And at one point, I created so much value for this wonderful individual that he came back like a boomerang. And there's no way that could have been planned out.
Yes.
And so when I was in the kitchen smiling and Nicole's almost crying because she's got to go back to work, I was drinking a glass of wine. And she goes, what the hell are you doing? And I said, I got some good news. You don't have to go back to work. So anyhow,
I love
it's in our deepest struggles that we will find the most magic that we need. And you have to have these empowering, I call them codes of transformation. Codes of transformation are the meanings or beliefs that you give something that will serve you no matter what.
Yes. Wow.
So one of them is that anything's possible and that I'm unlimited. And the other one I told you is there's always a way.
Yes.
And the other one is what's next. So those are just powerful sound bites that hold a lot of weight. And they are your core beliefs that will guide you in everything. And in fact, not only do they guide you, they create the life you're living right now, no matter what's happening.
I love that. would you say that that is like an anchor, that some people can use those as like, okay, here are some like things I can hang on to no matter what's going on. I can like anchor myself in these powerful, I don't know if you call them affirmations or just what you said, code.
They're just words that are packed with meaning. And again, words are only as powerful as the meanings we give them. So I just, double down. I know how important they are and how these words are. In fact, the word, the acronym that I've created for it it's a way of replacing doubt.
Yes.
Yet the word is also a way of reinforcing doubt. So me, I now decide. And then this is where you double down. Me, I now decide there's always a way. Me, I now decide I am enough. Me, I now decide I'm unlimited. I'm freaking unstoppable. And if people say that to themselves and they have this feeling of discomfort, they're just not there yet. They just don't believe it yet. And so keep doing it. So those are all that. Now, here's the thing with hypnosis. What hypnosis does is allows people to get out of their way real quick. So when we do like one-on-one work or group work, when they close their eyes and they get out of their way, then it goes into the subconscious without resistance. And that's why visualization is so powerful. That's why meditation is so powerful. And that's why hypnosis is so powerful.
Love it. Love it. On that note, Wayne.
Yes.
You have, what is it that you've got going on now? What is it that you can, offer?
What people are what they can go to and get some value from?
Yes.
I actually, I can post it in, I just have a link here. Because my website, waynelee.com, will give people an indication of my corporate offerings, like for organizations and the business groups that I work with to help them create the mindset for peak performance.
Awesome.
And so people will hire me. So people know a company or they know a group that I could be a great fit for their team or just have me for the entertainment, then that's where they can find me, waynelee.com. Yet if people want one of our signature method, it's called the MEGA method. And the MEGA method, it's an acronym, shouldn't be a surprise. MEGA method is Mental Endgame Activation Method. And I don't know if you even have time, but I could do it. It only takes a couple minutes.
Let's do it.
Okay, let me just, can I just copy this and put it in here?
Yes, and then of course I'll post all these links as well too, so it'd be great.
Sure. Yeah, I'm gonna just paste that. Yeah, what that is, here we go. What that is, Sean, is you remember when I was telling the story about my silver medal? Like I got the silver medal, but I didn't get the gold.
Yes.
Like I got into the finals, but I didn't win, and then after I used it. Okay. So one of the things I learned is it's one thing to visualize what you want. It's another thing to visualize as if you've achieved it. And obviously you've done that in your goals. Maybe you've done it consciously, subconsciously. But here's the thing, is our brain, our imagination, the whole subconscious aspect, the brain doesn't distinguish what is real and unreal. So when you use your imagination, you're actually fast forwarding to the future to to lock in a memory of the future that'll never leave you alone. And when you link that, we call it name it, claim it, anchor it, and activate it.
Ooh.
So when you name what you want, and I'd say, hey, what's your gold medal? Now, whether you want to say it here or not, that's up to you, Sean. But what do you want in the next year? What's the biggest thing you're working on? That's your gold medal, right?
Totally.
And then I'm going to take you through a process where I'm going to demystify hypnosis, where you're going to hear me, you're just going to get relaxed, you're going to close your eyes, and there's a point where you're going to feel as though you've achieved it. And in order for you to actually even get there, you have to actually visualize that or imagine it, sense it right now.
Yes.
And then you're going to anchor that with a symbol, which is going to be a color, maybe putting your hands to your heart, because I notice you do that a lot. And anytime now from this day forward that you do that, you will even feel more flow because you've already activated that image. Does that make sense?
I love it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So do you have something that you wanted to share, or did you want to keep it to yourself, Sean? Like a goal?
I can share because I'm You want me to say it now or?
Sure.
Yeah. No, I'm actually working on publishing my second book. So
awesome, man. Do you have a name for it? You got a name then, obviously, right?
I don't have a name yet.
Okay.
Uh,
We'll call it the book.
the book. Yeah,
And
exactly.
what's the topic of it?
So the topic of it is um, in my first book, Heal the Boy, Build the Man. This is more of the how to of the healing and the revealing and the creating process to live from the heart and soul.
Awesome. So I want you just to tell me right now, just having that book done and out to however, how would you feel? How do you feel?
Oh, amazing. Just,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. So I want you to open your eyes right now and just to even get into the flow more, take a deep breath in and just close your eyes. And now that you have your eyes closed, Sean, I want you just to listen and let my voice guide you and to let you relax. And as you do, I want you to just drop into that field of infinite, wonderful intelligence where anything is possible and you're unlimited, which you definitely know that. And as you listen to me, you hear me at all times, and you're going to amplify your senses, your imagination in a moment. I want you right now just to relax your body as I talk. Open your mind and soften your heart. And as you sit here right now, I want you to know this, that deep within your heart, there's a magical spark that lights the fire of your imagination. That spark is your unlimited power, your potential. It's your desire that sparks everything that you achieve. It's what I like to call the inner magic. And your imagination is your plan-making department. It is what allows you to see the future before you've even achieved it. So I want you right now, Sean, as you keep your eyes closed, just to picture and imagine you having achieved your book, just what that looks like, how it impacts the people around you, who's reading it. Notice if you hear sounds around you. And on the count of 3, it's going to get even better. On the count of 3, I want you to imagine as if it's already happened, like you're in this moment right now, you've achieved it. What will that feel like? I call it bliss. Keep your eyes closed and just bathe in the emotion of bliss without any resistance. 1, 2, 3. And just feel it now. Notice what you notice, feel what you notice, and it gets better. On the count of 3, that feeling magnifies, maybe 10 times more, maybe 100 times more, maybe what you need exactly at this moment. And on the count of 3, you're going to feel this amplification, this elevation. And just keep your eyes closed and bathe in that emotion. 1, 2, 3. Yes. And just put a half smile on you. Feel what you feel and notice. There's a color to that feeling. Whatever color comes up, it's the perfect color for you right now, Sean. And from this moment, anytime you think of that color, boom, bam, shazam. You feel so much power, magic, motivation that you'll do one thing every day until you've achieved it. All the things just align perfectly. People, places, things just start to come to you. You want more of that feeling? Sure. It's in your heart. It always has been, and you know that. You just got to activate it. Put your hands to your heart, and that feeling radiates at even a higher level. From this day forward, anytime you think of your color and or put your hands to your heart, boom, bam, shazam. You feel so much power, energy, motivation, focus, magic that you'll do whatever you need moving forward. You see, some people believe in their doubts, other people doubt their beliefs. You believe in yourself. You believe in yourself. And on the count of 3, you'll open your eyes. You feel wonderfully reset, recharged, ready to have the most awesome day. 1, feeling absolutely fantastic. 2, almost there. And 3, eyes open.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. So we'll check in here, Sean. So now that process took literally like less than 5 minutes, and it employed the essence of what hypnosis is closing your eyes, going within, tapping into your imagination without you dancing funny on stage. And here's the thing. You now named it, you claimed it because you got there. What did it feel like when you got there already?
Oh, I just felt more alive. I felt just more, just like, again, like life was on my side. It was like the people showed up, the project had been delivered and executed, and it was this flow through me, and I could see it, I could feel it.
Yeah, I mean, you're in that state right now. So the word alive is the first word that came through. Like, I felt more alive. So that might be your trigger word. That might be your activator, alive. I am alive. I feel it. Good. So let me ask you another question. What color came up for you?
Reddish golden.
And how does that feel when you think your color?
On fire.
So a suggestion is have that color, have a stone, have a rock, or if you're into that, or just have to trigger you. Because when you start thinking of that, anytime that you feel a little off course, that instantaneously takes you right back into alignment.
Absolutely.
And then put your hands to your heart. That was something you were doing natural before, and I bet you it even triggers it at a more radiant, vibrant feeling.
Yes. Yes.
So here's the thing is that when people repeat that for the next 30 days, because we know that we're creatures of habit, you've just rewired your whole subconscious aspect of resetting to the brain, where you, after 30 days, you don't even have to think about it. You just do it. Like,
yes.
And you quickly shift into a state where you then follow through.
I love it. Absolutely.
Cool.
Very powerful. Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. So amazing.
Awesome.
Wow. Jeez. Wayne, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for coming on, sharing your wisdom, your magic. And you know what? We'll be sharing the links where people can get more. They can follow you. They can, follow up on you with your coaching, your programs. And it's been incredible. Thank you so much.
Cool. Hey, it's been a blast, Sean, to be on. It's just, we're obviously speaking the same language. So it was just my honor and pleasure. So thank you for having me.